I wake up at 30-something years old.
And if I'd had 2 cents to my name at that time, I would have divorced him.
With 3 kids, a wife.
I would have taken our sons. I would have told everyone what he had done. I would have announced in court he was an unfit father and get him out of our kids' lives.
A washer, dryer, house, and a cocaine habit.
We'd had our 2 sons. What happened in between that was I got pregnant a 3rd time, and it was a very difficult pregnancy, and we ended up losing that son, Kyle. He only lived a little bit after he was born, and he, as I found out later, was heavy into cocaine at that time. I was clueless, and so I was mourning the loss and adjusting to that loss of losing a child. And then got pregnant again, and we had Brady. And by then we're completely broke. We're very active in church. Little did I know that he was heavy into coke at that point. We were so behind on the mortgage payment. One of our children only had 1 pair of shoes each. And one of our sons, the heel was broken, and he was having to go to school for a week with the heel flapping. And we had no money to even buy him another pair of shoes. Tom had taken over all the finances, and there were probably other signs that I should have seen and I didn't. But I guess I just don't think I could truly believe at that point, it would never have occurred to me that Tom would be so heavy into his coke habit that he would take everything from his family. What finally happened, I think they came to repossess the water heater or something, and I finally marched in and said, I need to see our finances. And Tom had put everything in a computer and gave me a sheet and said, here they are. And I said, I want to see the bank statements, and I want to see our checks. I want to see the paychecks. And he had shredded all of them.
Drugs were not that big of a part of my life. But after moving here to Atlanta, and some of the friends that I made, the guys that I played with were still heavily into doing drugs at that time. None of them had families. I was the only one that had a family. And so I was probably intent on proving that I could handle all this for some warped reason. You know, using it once a month became using it, once a week, which became a couple times a week, which became every day of the week.
I knew the announcement was coming, and we weren't talking to each other, and he said to me, I've called my reunion group, they're going to meet me tomorrow morning at church. And all 3 of his prayer brothers met him there at the altar. And that's where he confessed.
I sat in front of them and dumped everything from all the years. And they sat and listened. And they offered, at that time, no judgment, no anything. Just some place for me to let go of everything that was in me. I just didn't see any way out without confessing. They told me that, I had to go home and tell my wife about it. But they also told me that they would stay at the altar to give me an opportunity to go home and tell Ann everything that I had done.
Working my way towards forgiving Tom, of course I was just cold and bitter. I remember crying to God going, I'm learning so much about my faith and I'm growing stronger and I believe in marriage until death. Why would you be doing this? Why is this marriage ending? But it never occurred to me my marriage wasn't ending because I was determined to end it. I didn't want to forgive. I grudgingly began to look at him. But I could feel the pull inside, and I would have to say, as I worked, I was not consciously working towards forgiving him because I had no intention of forgiving him at all. There's a certain amount, there's a lot of pride involved when you realize that your husband prefers something else to you, And slowly my pride, I guess, just kind of faded away. I would like to say that I worked very hard on trying to forgive him, but I really didn't. It was really God working on that forgiveness for me. I realized I was forgiving him, but it was definitely God-driven in this case. And had you asked me then, at that time, I could never have seen anything good come from it. And now we are so much more blessed because of the story that we had and that we lived through.
There was never one morning where Ann got up and said, "You know what? I forgive you for destroying our family." It just never did happen. But I think we both knew when it was there. I really did.